hello.
We can hear you, Bobby. You there?
Okay, very good.
Yep. Loud and clear.
Yeah, can you, okay, very good. I'm gonna have intermittent phone service probably, but we'll try and stay hooked up.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to open our public meeting. This is the Port of Bellingham Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. There are a couple ways to participate. Thank you to everyone here who is here in person. We are also live streaming on YouTube and on our Zoom channel. I'll go ahead and get started with roll call. Commissioner Bell?
Present.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Present.
And Commissioner Shepard is present as well. Before we get started, next we'll move on to public comment. I want to take a moment. The Port of Bellingham had a passing of a longtime leader, Commissioner Jim Jorgensen, recently. Jim was a leader for the port. He was a commissioner and has a long legacy. So we'll just take a moment to remember him and all of his contributions for our community. Okay, thank you. Our first order of business is reading our advisory committee schedule. We have one advisory meeting coming up. That's on July 13th for the BIAC, or the Bellingham International Airport Advisory Committee. That's available both in Zoom and in person out at the ARF building. The MAC, or Marine Advisory Committee, is on summer break until the 12th of September. I'll go ahead and move on to public comment. I've got first person, Joe Ferry? Farrar? Signed up. You can come on up. We ask public comment to be limited to about 3 minutes.
Cool.
And the floor is yours. Just state your name and
Yeah,
go from there.
thank you. My name's Joe Farrar. I'm a resident of Bellingham, just live up by the university. Just want to express first condolences on the loss of a colleague, and but also want to express just some concerns about the noise at the shipping terminal. I know you've been hearing about this in previous meetings. First, just want to say that I come with a principle of charity. My assumption is that as elected officials, your job is difficult. You weigh information, you make tough decisions. Probably there are some you feel like you really got right, maybe some you feel like you didn't. But I don't come here assuming these issues are black and white. I was curious about the potential impacts just to myself and my family, because especially when the ship is here, it's something that keeps us up frequently, also just sort of causes a fair amount of stress. And so I was looking at, well, what's the evidence that this is something tangible? And I wanted to share just a couple of things I found, quick synopsis. One, there's notable health effects. I'll just quote here a study from the European Heart Journal, which sought to summarize a lot of the literature on this. Quoting the article, evidence from epidemiologic studies demonstrates that environmental noise is associated with an increased incidence of arterial hypertension, myocardial infarction, and stroke. Both observational and experimental studies indicate that in particular, nighttime noise can cause disruptions to sleep structure, vegetative arousals, and increases in stress hormone levels and oxidative stress, which in turn may result in endothelial dysfunction and arterial hypotension. The New York Times, actually, it was good timing, did a really interesting spread on the effects of noise. And just quoting a study they reference here from the Environmental International, found that for more than, there was a study of more than 4 million people followed for more than a decade, and they found that at just 35 decibels, the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease increased by 2.9% for every 10 decibel increase in exposure to road traffic noise. They found that pronounced fluctuations that cut through ambient noise, such as train horns, I can only assume scrap metal dropping would fall into that as well, compound these health effects. The last one I'll mention is from a study of the American Journal of Preventative Medicine, which found that, quote, when noise-related hypertension is considered, lowering environmental noise just 5 decibels is estimated to reduce the prevalence of hypertension by 1.4% and the prevalence of coronary heart disease by 1.8%. They also found economic impacts as well. So according to that same study in the Journal of Preventative Medicine, healthcare spending and productivity loss due to heart disease and hypertension have direct negative economic consequences. The econometric models estimate that a 5 decibel level reduction, this is at the US level, in noise would produce an annual benefit of $3.9 billion. What does that mean for our local community here? Probably a much smaller scale, but I think these are actual tangible effects that we will see, given it's a 15-year contract, not only at the level of someone like myself who's sort of experiencing it in their home, but I do think in the broader community as well, even for the longshoremen who are exposed to that noise on a daily basis. So, again, I do come to you with the assumption of goodwill, but I ask that you give the community members who are experiencing these effects the same goodwill, because I think most of the response that has been concerned is coming from a place that I think is real, it's tangible, and it's people's well-being. I'm sure you've experienced probably not the greatest side of people, and I think that's regrettable. But I think for the most part, people are expressing real concerns. And I do think that's also why this is going to be an enduring issue, is just because it's grounded in something that's real. And so, I guess what I would also say is that as a voter, as a citizen, I don't expect my elected officials to get every decision perfect every time. So I'd be willing to work with you, and I think there's a lot of other people that will be willing to work with you if we could find a way to make this right, whether that's withdrawing from the contract and maybe help covering the cost of whatever liability would come from that, or just ongoing abatement, whatever it might be, but consider me a partner in whatever that would mean. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Do we have anyone else in the room who would like to provide public comment? All right. Yeah. Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
Thanks, Commissioner Shepard. In lieu of what Joe said, it's actually, he brought up some good points. As Paul Burrell, Whatcom County resident, thanks. I also own and operate multiple semi-trucks. We frequent the port areas, and I think some of the issues that Joe brought up were very relevant. With some of the rocks that are coming into the area, I actually recently had the chance to talk to one of the drivers that brings those in, and he was telling me that they were rerouted an actual longer route through town, and I think there could be some noise abatement potential if the drivers were allowed to take the most direct and what would be the safest route into the port, kind of re-examining those based on direction in which the drivers are going. Drivers take certain routes based on safety, public safety, and their own safety. So I think in working with multiple different industries, you could possibly solve some of these issues and reduce some of the noise as heavy traffic is going through town. And I hope to see increased industrial work here myself, because it does change the wage gap and brings in these good paying blue collar jobs, which we hope to see more of. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Paul. Anyone else? All right, anybody on Zoom? You can just unmute yourself, or seeing none, we will have another opportunity for public comment at the end of our regularly scheduled business. All right, Carrie, if you would, our next item is our consent agenda.
Yeah, motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
Questions, comments, Commissioner Bell?
I have none.
Commissioner Briscoe?
I have none.
I just had I wanted a couple clarifications on item E. Gina, if you would be willing, I just wanted to go over, the IRUs and our collaborations with partners on broadband installation has been one of our high-profile projects. We've been really successful, mostly to you and the team working on this, getting some fantastic grant funding, leveraging local resources, and bringing fiber where it needs to go. Tell us a little bit about this IRU. Are there any substantial differences in this IRU from previous ones? And what can the public expect about things like costs and open access for the future?
Thank you, Commissioner Shepard. So for the record, Gina Stark, Port of Bellingham Economic Development Project and Broadband Manager. So yeah, this is a great partnership. So this particular one, if you notice, it's design, construction, and IRU with a local company. This company, Pogo Zone, is owned and operated locally with the principals living here. And so the benefit of this particular IRU is that it's a cost savings to the citizens of Whatcom County because Pogo Zone, while the port will own this system, so it's a publicly owned asset, we will construct it with publicly owned dollars, and so we will own it. Pogo Zone will do a couple of things that will save us money. One thing that they will do is that they will design it because it's called a lit system. So they're going to help us design it so that it is constructed. So that is an in-kind thing that they are doing for us, which will then also save us money, and it'll be properly designed because this is what they do. The other thing that they will do is they will maintain and operate this at no cost to the port, again, because this is what they do. And if the port was to decide that we wanted to operate and maintain it, we would have to set up a whole infrastructure to do that. And that would cost millions of dollars. You know, they have the bucket trucks, they have the splicers. They are also going to be a network operating center for us. So that what that means, if there's anything that happens 24/7, rain or shine, they're the ones that are going to go out and fix it. It's not going to be one of our port employees that goes out and fix it. And then again, that is a huge cost savings to the taxpayers of Whatcom County. So that is something that is really important for this partnership. And the open access, so again, for everyone, as a reminder, open access means that, again, it's publicly owned, but any ISP can operate on it. So what that does is that encourages competition, which keeps the price down. So anybody can use it. Comcast, Ziply, I'm trying to think of who else, Would-be-Tel. So anyone can operate on this system. And again, the good thing with it being lit is that it benefits small as well as large. It's a plug and play. And so again, if there's any technical issues, we, the port, don't have to help with those technical issues that the ISPs have. Pogo Zone will do that on our behalf. And then, so at the end of the term, Pogo Zone does have the option of buying it. It doesn't mean that they will. After the term, the port could keep it. But the important thing is that it remains open access in perpetuity. So all of a sudden, you know, Pogo Zone or whoever, somebody could buy out Pogo Zone. Nobody knows what's going to happen in 25 years. But they can't kick those subscribers, those ISPs, off the system. They get to stay on the system. So, and there's also formulas in there that, because there are connection fees to the ISPs, that Pogo Zone can't just ratchet up the fees for those connections either. It's set to a certain formula. So there's a lot of safeguards put into place. It's a really good agreement. It's a very mutual beneficial agreement that benefits the port and it benefits Pogo Zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. That helps. You know, these agreements definitely get scrutiny, and there's a lot of interest in the community in seeing these happen and making sure that they're wisely constructed. And I think you and the team have done a great job on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it for my questions.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe,
Yeah.
and Commissioner Shepard's a yes as well. That carries 3-0. All right, we'll move on to our action items. We have got 3 today. Looks like our first is we're going to have Airport Operation Manager Matthew Rodriguez.
You want me to read the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Motion to amend the CIP and authorize the executive director to execute the FAA Airport Improvement Program grant.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matthew Rodriguez, Airport Operations Manager at the Bellingham International Airport. Today we'll be talking about action item 1, our capital improvement project, 101 TAC 453. 2 of these pieces of equipment that we're trying to procure using FAA entitlement money is the airport rescue firefighting equipment. So that includes full set of bunker gear, also includes SCBA packs and bottles, and as well as a new liquid de-ice truck for the airport for winter operations. A few months back ago, we advertised our equipment. We had we had 3 bids that came in. We had Ellen Curtis, MES, and C Western. You can see the pricing that came in below. The sole and responsive, or the responsive bidder, or responsive and responsible bidder, sorry, Ellen Curtis came in right under budget at $98,996. So no issue there. The liquid de-ice truck, however, we had 1 bid that came in. So we had the advertisement open for about 3 weeks. We received one sole bid. We did receive recommendation through the FAA to proceed with this contract. However, in the port's capital improvement budget, we are over by $246,000. The picture that you see right there is our current Snow 5. This liquid de-ice truck is a key element and component of all of our winter equipment that we use at the airport. The purpose for this liquid de-ice truck is to provide pre-treatment on the surface areas of the runway and our primary one areas. Also, when we encounter heavy snowstorms and ice buildup, this truck also is responsible for liquid de-ice or de-icing the runway and those surface areas at the airport. Currently, as you see, we procured this agricultural tank on the back of Snow 5. The capacity, we can't have any more than 600 gallons on it due to the frame. It's a little bit heavy, and this fire truck is very old as well, with ongoing maintenance concerns and issues. So therefore, that's why we had an advertisement out to the public for vendors to bid on. The one bid that we received was from MB Companies. Again, it came in over $246,000. The airport estimate was set at $400,000. And again, we received one bid. So our assumptions of why the increase of cost came in well over was due from escalating material and labor costs, order delivery backlogs and supply chain challenges. And then obviously the last one is only the solicitation of one piece of equipment versus where other airports and other companies, they solicit for about, anywhere between 5 to 10 pieces of equipment from, one company at a time. So we received one bid that came in at $646,000. And how this affects the budget here, as we can see, is that we're also applying for Grant 68. So Grant 68 is at $2.7 million, and that's the amount that we're applying for. And then we're going to receive the full $2.7 million. However, you can see the additional budget required for the de-icer truck at $246,000 puts us over with that line item of that capital project at $245,000 or $245,000 to $364. However, due to the FAA funding at 90% for this grant and as it pertains to the ARF equipment and the liquid de-ice truck, the port's total portion would be $74,536. And then lastly, looking at the FAA grant number 68, again, the total allocation from the FAA is going to be $2.694 million. The port's share would be just a smidge under $300,000 at $299,000, and then total money is allocated for both of this equipment, and also the other portion of this money is going to be financing the construction of phase 2 of our SRE building. Total is $2.99 million.
Matthew, do we have a separate truck that de-ices planes?
The port does not have a de-ice truck that does planes. That's provided by the FBO or the airline themselves. So they contract with BAS to perform that function, de-ice planes. As it pertains to the liquid de-ice truck, this is just covering the surface areas at the Bellingham Airport, the runway, primary one taxiways. When we expect inclement weather coming in, this is the piece of equipment that we use first to lay down some liquid de-ice, pre-treat the runway. That way, when snow does fall, it doesn't accumulate over time, or it doesn't accumulate immediately, and then we can get out there and address it as it comes.
So since he broke in, I'm going to break in as well. And I don't want to be insulting with the question, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. Why can't we buy a flatbed? Does it have to be a special truck to hold a tank to do spraying of the runway?
That's what.
Won't a flatbed work?
Oh, good.
Won't a flatbed work?
That's what we're currently using is a flatbed, but as per the advisory circular, so we have a calculation that goes into it, and it's square footage per the runway and our primary one surface areas, and that calculation came out to about 1653. So that means we require 1,653 gallons of liquid de-ice to cover all of our primary one areas. As it pertains to the liquid de-ice truck that we're trying to procure, it's a 2,000-gallon tank, which is, it's a bunch of weight.
So to be clear, it's more than just the tank that you've got won't work on the flatbed frame that you've got. You need a whole new tank because you need more capacity.
Correct.
So you're replacing the entire system.
The entire system's being replaced, correct.
That's the answer. Okay. I'm done.
Okay.
Got it.
Any other questions?
Things cost more. I mean, we're seeing that across the board. We continue to benefit from a strong partnership with the FAA on these. A 90% match goes a long way. And that makes a big deal for things being affordable and able for us to, spend limited resource that we have locally on.
Very well.
I don't love spending $250,000 more than expected on a piece of equipment, but we certainly saw last winter the importance of having de-icing capabilities on hand. We got hit pretty bad with an ice storm, and we need to be ready for those type of events to keep our runways open. It's just an essential operation.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And last snow season we did encounter a lot of weather that came in. We had the the ice-mageddon, I should say. We received about an inch or two worth of ice on all surface areas. However, the current liquid de-ice truck that we're using, it takes a lot of staff time because it can only hold 600 gallons. So by the time we're done pre-treating, we have to go back, refill it, and bring it back out. So it kind of cuts into the operational time to where we can be mitigating and doing snow removal. And with a 2,000-gallon tank, we would be able to liquid de-ice everything 2 times over with this piece of vehicle.
And we have sufficient area to store this new vehicle. It's not going to be...
Correct. Yeah, we considered that into the SRE hangar that we're constructing up right now. So yes, the dimensions of this vehicle will fit.
Okay.
If you need help with that, I'd like to put it in my garage and just drive it down Alabama Hill on those mornings and deliver it to the airport. If that would be
we can
okay.
surplus the old Snow 5 and we can repurpose
Get
it.
that one. All right.
All right, thank you.
Carrie?
Can we get the chili recipe too before you leave the room?
Negative.
That was a hard no.
Motion to amend CIP and authorize Executive Director to execute the FAA Airport Improvement Program grant.
Commissioner Bell?
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm a yes as well. All right, our next action item, Carrie, if you please.
Sure. Motion to approve a budget reallocation for the BLI solar feasibility and design study.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's Adrienne Douglas Scott, Sustainability Manager for the Port. I do have a couple slides I'm going to share with you here. Sorry, one moment. Okay, hopefully you can see the slide there. So we do have various projects identified and approved in the CIP budget for 2023 for various levels of detail like feasibility and design studies. And we've put those in the budget in order to determine pricing for future construction projects, hopefully. The action today is to reallocate funds from those other solar planning projects. One, to increase funding for one of the projects at the Blaine Web Houses, and 2, to create a new capital improvement project for a full feasibility study for solar carport structures at the airport parking lots. So in Blaine, you can see Web House 1 on the bottom. That project is for design. We actually built that with solar in mind with the recent construction. And Web Houses 2 and 3 are for feasibility, which is roof analysis for solar installation. So again, those are approved on the budget for this year already. At Squalicum Harbor and the Harbor Center building, So the Harbor Center building is where our admin offices are. For those who don't know, it's at 1801 Roeder Avenue. So we're looking at design and permitting for that, as well as for web houses and for the Marina Square building in Squalicum Harbor. So as far as the airport project goes, in 2017, we had an initial feasibility study done, which didn't have a lot of details in it as far as getting us to a shovel-ready project. So that really needs to be updated. The technology, of course, with solar has changed quite a bit in 6 years. So that definitely needs an update. So this would be a full feasibility study to look at the costs and benefits to get to performance specs for us for that information. It would also evaluate the utility connections and benefits to the port and the airport, and looking at the financial payback as well with that. And so this is a summary of the budgeting for this. These are separated out based on what budget they're coming out of. So the first two are out of the Marina budgets, and then the last, the last projects, except for the airport project, are out of the infrastructure budget that we have. So that's why they're sort of in these buckets here. But we're looking at reallocating some of the funds from the Squalicum Harbor Web House feasibility projects to the Blaine Harbor Web Houses 2 and 3 project, and then looking at moving some of the money from the Blaine Harbor Web House 1, the Harbor Center building, and the Marina Square building, and creating that new project to evaluate feasibility for the covered parking project at the airport. So the total funding doesn't change, it's just moving some of it around. I'm going to stop sharing there unless anybody wants me to keep this up.
Okay. Was that it, Adrian? Anything else?
Oh, that was it. Yeah, sorry. Staff recommends approval.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Briscoe?
Yeah, I have I guess it's a kind of a question for Rob. Given our recent conversation in our budget retreat, should we just move the HCV off the chart there, period?
That's a good observation, Commissioner. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That would allocate quite a bit more funds to other areas. So that would be a kind of a proposal of mine, given our conversation about the HCV. I think it would be prudent to take that off.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. I mean, we've recently talked about the life expectancy of this building, and after our recent conversation, I think maybe we just need a little bit more time to figure out what our long-range planning for this building before we commit to any substantial capital improvements on it. It definitely has good roof access here and good solar gain, but I think we need to do a little bit more internal staff work to figure out how long what lifespan we think this building has. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I agree, and thanks for bringing that up, Bobby. That's glad you thought of that. And reallocating some of that money over to the airport where we know we've got connections that will feed a user, which is the airport building, is probably the most practical short-term solution. So I would actually ask that we expedite the airport installation with that funding rather than just take it off the list. Maybe just reallocate it towards something that will actually make the profitability better and show the value of those projects.
That's a good suggestion. The airport project is unique. We, the airport's a large energy user, and it's one of our properties that can use all the solar energy produced on site. And that's not the case for every web house or every other building that we have. And so it's a uniquely nice project for offsetting the power produced with the power consumed there.
So just for the record then, Commissioners, we'll be changing, the motion won't change because it just says from various GL projects, but the schedule under fiscal impact will eliminate the HCB solar design only of $42,250, and we'll add that to the new line, BLI covered parking solar feasibility study and design.
Just a quick question on that. Do we need more feasibility and design money or on that project,
Well,
Adrian?
typically, if it's left over from feasibility and design, it can then roll into more of a capital project. Tamara?
Yeah, it's my assumption. Matt Chapman's, I believe, on as well and may want to pipe in here, but I do believe that would help us get this forward faster.
Done. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments, Commissioner Briscoe?
No, I didn't mean to upset the apple cart for Adrian. She did a great job there. I just thought that maybe we better rethink that one.
Yeah,
Other
no.
than that, nothing.
That
Thank
was a
you.
good catch. Very good catch.
Suggestion. All right. Carrie, if you please.
Should I change? Motion to reallocate the budget for the BLI solar feasibility and design study.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Let's go get that solar. Our next item is Engineering Program Manager Greg Nickel. And Carrie, please
Sure.
read it.
Motion to reallocate the budget for the Bellingham International Airport commercial apron striping.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Greg Nickel, Engineering Program Manager. The commercial terminal at the Bellingham International Airport has 8 commercial gates. In its current configuration, Gate 1 is capable of accommodating up to an Airbus A320. Gates 2 and 3 can accommodate a Bombardier Q400, and the remaining gates can accommodate a 737-900. Since we might not all be familiar with what those planes look like, I prepared this kind of cryptic drawing showing the relative size that you can see that both the Airbus and the Bombardier are significantly smaller aircraft. So those gates 1 through 3 are not able to accommodate the 737. The proposed project would restripe, it would remove all of the existing striping and restripe with a new orientation. In addition, it would address the fact that the existing striping is really past its useful life and it's no longer really visible. In the new configuration, which is shown at the bottom, you can see that all 8 gates would be able to accommodate a 737. Gates 3 through 8 can accommodate the 737-9 MAX, which is very similar to the 900. Gates 1 and 2 would be able to accommodate the 7 MAX. The reason being is that the 9 MAX would actually encroach on the Part 77 surface, which is the kind of imaginary surface around the airport that has to remain object-free, which turns out to include the tail of aircraft, interestingly enough. We originally bid this project in June of 2022. We received no bids, so we repackaged the project and rebid it again in August of 2022, and we received 1 bid that was more than double the engineer's estimate. Once we received that bid, we spoke with the low bid contractor, who indicated that the way that we had the project phased was causing the cost to go up substantially. During that project, we had it, or for that bid, we had intended to only have 1 gate closed at a time, which caused a whole lot more labor for the contractor. So what we did was we rejected all bids on that project, and we went back to the drawing board with the phasing plan, and we came up with a new phasing plan that allows the contractor to close up to 4 gates at a time in a 3-phased project. Because of the overlap between existing gates and new gates, Gate 4 would remain closed throughout the project, but we'd have 4 active gates throughout construction. Additionally, after we advertised the project, the FAA completed a compliance evaluation of the striping throughout the airport, and they identified a number of deviations from the standard, including some stray striping. They're supposed to be, they're very specific about the spacing between perpendicular stripes. This line being the edge of the aircraft movement area, and this being the edge striping. There's supposed to be a 6-inch gap. In a number of places there aren't. So they identified quite a number of deviations that we need to correct, and they also provided a deadline of June 30th to complete that. So in order to try to at least get that work started prior to that deadline, we asked the low bid contractor for this project to provide a change order proposal to address that. I failed to mention earlier on that this time that we bid the project, we again received one bid despite a fair amount of effort to try to reach out to striping contractors, and that bid was substantially over the engineer's estimate. So the proposed budget reallocation would cover both that, those additional costs as well as to correct these striping deviations. And Port staff recommends approval and can answer any questions you might have.
So Greg, the money for this paving or apron restriping is coming from CBP building IT upgrades, which had a budget of $155,000. It'll be reduced down to a budget of $25,000. And a design for the customs facility, which had a budget of $148,000, it'll be reduced to $77,000. Are those amounts enough to get those two projects done, or are we going to be doing a budget adjustment for those as well in the future?
So the CBP work is actually completed. It was originally budgeted with anticipation of substantially more work than it turned out to be needed. So that's remaining budget that's not anticipated to be spent. For the CBP design, that project is complete to the extent that we intended to complete it, to the 30% design. And so if and when we do move that forward, we will need additional budget. But at this time, we're complete with all the work that's anticipated.
Does the FAA help with 90% match on these?
They do not.
They do not. Okay. If we are to move forward with an international arrivals facility, how would that change the layout of where planes would park? And are we going to have to redo all of our striping again if we get that project off the ground?
I would ask the airport staff to confirm, but I don't believe so. It's the airport is designed to accommodate a 737, so we can't really accommodate a larger plane anyway. And the way that the new international arrivals facility is designed, I believe that its gates 7 and 8 would become the international arrival gates, and so we would not have to redo the striping.
And how about passenger experience with gate closures? How much are folks going to be impacted by this project going underway?
I don't believe it'll be substantially impacted. There will be some gate shifting that will have to happen, but it's in terms of the passenger experience, it shouldn't have a significant impact because you're still going to be going from the gate inside of the terminal straight out to that gate. It just may be that the aircraft are being shifted around a little more.
I know the discussion.
Come on up to the mic, Vic.
This one or that one?
That's fine.
I know the.
Just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Vic Yanega, the interim director for aviation at the airport. Anyways, I know the discussions have started with the airlines, or have taken place actually, and as long as it's not raining, I think they'll be happy if they have to walk a little bit further. But Allegiant was a little bit upset about it initially, but I think they've come to terms with it.
Okay.
You're aware of where we are,
Yes, sir.
as long as it's not raining.
But we are completing the project in August, so our chances are better.
Chances are best. Okay. Questions or comments?
Just out of curiosity, so I can understand the confusing markings. What's the 6-inch gap about?
They are very specific about it. I couldn't tell you from an operational perspective if a pilot gets confused going up to that because it's a 3-inch gap versus a 6-inch gap. I couldn't say that that's
That's what's going through my
operationally an
head,
issue.
right?
But we're just trying to stay out of trouble.
We're going to lose a plane because it's 5.5 inches. No, inquiring minds want to know.
Okay. Commissioner Briscoe, questions or comments?
No, I don't have any. I think 6 inches is the rule. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Motion to reallocate the budget at the Bellingham International Airport commercial apron striping.
All right, Commissioner Briscoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
I'm a yes as well.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us through our action items. At this point, we do a second call for public comment. Anyone in the room or on Zoom, please make yourself known.
Hi, I'm Elliot Smith. I'm the real estate director here at the Port of Bellingham. I'm here to simply introduce to the commissioners Matthew Kress. Matthew, could you come up? Matthew just finished driving about 5 days from Houston. He will be our Marine Terminals Business Development Manager. We're very happy to have him. He's had a long career with Norton Lilly International. I'll let him go into that a little bit. Matthew, could you just state that you're from Bellingham and tell us your name?
Hi, I'm Matthew Kress of Bellingham as of yesterday. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to working with you all. I want to thank Rob and Elliot and everybody for being so welcoming. And yeah, I've been in maritime for 18 years, managing ships, cargo, charters work, owners work, terminals, etc., all with the same firm. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you all and enjoying not being 100 degrees every day. So I'm happy to be here.
That is not a Houston accent.
It is not. I'm from Southern California.
Those are also not Houston shoes.
No, no, I never bought cowboy boots. I didn't buy in.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Last call on Zoom or in person. Additional public comment? Okay, looks like we are moving on to everybody's favorite, other business. Commissioner Briscoe, we'll start with you. Any items for us today?
I have none.
Okay.
No, none today.
All right. Commissioner Bell?
Yeah, just a couple. Went to the small cities meeting up in Linden, and just a couple of things to note. Number one, Brian Heinrich is no longer with the city of Bellingham. He is now with PSE. For those of you who don't know, he's went to my alma mater, so I've got a soft spot in my heart for Brian. But also the new director from Bellingham said that they were working very hard at tourism, and that they were lobbying Southwest to make sure that they got the Denver flight more often. So just making sure that we're on the same page and we're working in cooperation with the city, because apparently they're throwing quite a bit of resources at doing that.
Was it the city or the Tourism Bureau? Was it Dillon?
Dylan.
Yeah, so Whatcom County Tourism Bureau. Yeah, we're talking closely with him, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you.
So I was under the assumption he took Brian's place, but that's not the truth.
No. He took Sandy Ward's place at the Tourism Bureau.
Okay. And it was heartening to see the dedication he had to making sure the airport was successful. It seems to be all airport all day today, and still no recipe. And then the last thing is, I just wanted to make sure Joe knew that we hear him, and we are as sympathetic and empathetic as we can possibly be towards the plight at some level. But I still hold firm to the belief that work is not always quiet, and it's not always easy, and it's not always pretty. And that's what work looks like sometimes. More than willing to sit down and have a civil conversation. I was happy to hear the tone. It's more than once that I've heard that tone expressed. So we will continue to work and continue to try to mitigate, and we understand the concern. As long as we can stay away from some of the hyperbole and other arguments, I think we'll be in good shape, and we are looking forward to working with the South Hill group. That's all.
Rob, could we get Joe the copy of the recent noise report? We've got his email address here. I think when folks see the noise report, seeing it in comparison to average noise here, we're not talking 10 decibels. We're not even talking 5 decibels. It's a small increase, and I think that information is useful to keep broadcasting out. Have we had any more conversation about reducing the latest night shift, that one that goes till 3?
Yeah, we're working with the longshoremen, the stevedore and company, and with ABC, having those conversations.
Okay. All right. Well, I know that continues to be an interest of many of the comments we receive. Was there anything else for you? All right. I had two. Gina, I wonder if you could give us an update, you or Rob, on the next round of funding for broadband and the ARPA money that we're hoping to continue being able to utilize. We had worked with the county council to allocate some federal funding for broadband as a match for a grant we didn't actually get. We had a good application but didn't get, and I'm hoping that we can continue to position that money to go where it was intended for, which was for infrastructure. And this broadband project is clearly infrastructure. I feel like we've got options either to use the amount and do what we can with it, or should we be thinking about leveraging EDI funds or some other source to get the project as it was initially intended?
Yes, Commissioner. So yeah, Gina Stark again. So yeah, that's a really good question. And so I had an initial conversation with Tyler Schroeder with the county. He's the deputy executive in Kayla who does special projects, because the county had identified $4 million with their ARPA for broadband. And initially, we were going to use that as match for the state broadband office when we put in for a $12 million grant, because we were doing a very larger project. It was going to be, over 800 homes. And again, as I mentioned last time I was here, that we're very sad that we didn't get it. And it was a great project. I did talk to State Broadband Office, and really it came down to there was not enough money. As I had mentioned before, is overprescribed. And so we're having those conversations with the counties. Can we still use that money, take the bigger project, and narrow it down to a smaller, kind of slice it up and do a smaller project in utilizing that $4 million, because that need is still there. They're still unserved, and it's very rural. And those are expensive projects. They're not going to get less expensive. If anything, they're going to get more expensive. These are a lot of long driveways, so you're going to do some boring, some trenching. Labor costs go up, material costs go up. And so we're hoping that the county would just invest so that we can just build out. If they want to bring in some EDI money so that we can do that and reach more homes, that would be great. So it would be looking at probably reaching, again, around 200 to 250 homes, again, because it's really rural. So you have, a mile, but there's only maybe at the max 10 homes, if not less than that. And having those conversations with the county of, well, can't we just hold on to it and leverage it with the next round of grant dollars? Well, except for that, the next round of grant dollars is probably not going to be until 2027, 2028, because the state broadband office, is kind of getting their plans ready to go to NTIA, National Transportation Information Administration. Those plans aren't going to be introduced to the federal government until December. Then they have to be reviewed along with the 5-year plan. And so the state isn't looking to get those dollars at best, maybe 2026. And then at best, the grant rounds are going to go out to 2027. And then more than likely, the first round are going to go to distressed counties, which Whatcom County is not. So really trying to express the urgency to the county council that the money that they have is going to expire in 2026. And they've already allocated it to the port for the building on behalf of Whatcom County. So really that's where we're at and having those conversations and, just letting them know the need is here, the need is now. And so can we just take that money and just start building? So really just trying to have those conversations. And they understand the importance of broadband. It's a utility, not a luxury. So that's where we are, setting up another time to go back and talk with them. Hopefully having some conversations with some county council members, I think would be really helpful as well.
Do you think we should have individual conversations with county council members, or are you thinking we're going to be back at a full meeting for presenting for an update on this?
I think both. Having those individual conversations, I think, are really, really important. That provides that opportunity to have that one-on-one and have those conversations, because broadband can get complicated, and with all these different timelines. You've got local, you've got state, you've got federal. So having those one-on-ones, and then I know we'll be going before them again in a formal capacity.
I heard the mayor discuss, the mayor of Linden, discuss the EDI funds and how there's a surplus in those funds, and he's not shy about using them. Matter of fact, he's probably more aggressive than most.
There's $20 million in the bank, and it generates about $6 million a year.
Yeah, so if we were to go in and really up our ante on that and ask for what we needed from that EDI fund, do you think we've got support from the board?
It's kind of a frustrating thing because both the ARPA money and the EDI money are monies. The EDI comes back from the state and the others came from the feds. And when we're using this money, we're using it for county projects like broadband. We're not using it for port pet projects. But for some reason, the county views it as money coming to the port, not going to the county. And we got to get over that mentality. We're just happen to be the one administering the project. We're managing the project, but it's on behalf of Whatcom County.
Well, that's my point. I think maybe we go in with a bigger ask and really sell it hard so that we get the capital we need to go do it right and get it done. I mean, because I think anytime we delay, we're going to increase the cost. It's going to double soon.
And this is a clear benefit for the mayors and councils of Linden and Ferndale. I mean, we should be able to get their support on the EDI board to strengthen our case here. I mean, this is really this isn't a Bellingham project. This is a project that really benefits rural Whatcom County.
Yeah, I think we do that for the next EDI board and just let's put a proposal in front of them and let's call a meeting and see if we can get it through. I'll lobby for that with the board. I mean, it's nuts that it's sitting there and we're not using it for this.
But the question for here was the federal money, right? I mean, that's
Yes, for the ARPA.
which has already been allocated towards the project. They have to give it back to the feds if they don't use it for the project. So it's really a no-brainer as to using it for this purpose.
But you had an initial proposal for the full need.
Yes.
You had identified the full project need, and it would be nice if we could just achieve that. The need's not going to go away. The need's not changing by waiting, and it's not going to change by hoping we get money in 2028. The need's just going to be worse by then. So I think we go to the EDI with the full proposal, say we already have this match from ARPA, and chip into some of that $20 million. Ken's on the EDI board for us, so he's going to take lead.
Does that mean we have one vote already?
Yeah, and I just think we didn't ask for this difficulty. We're trying to do something for the county on behalf of the county. This is not a port job typically. It's just an unusual circumstance, and for us to be downgraded because we're the port and trying to do something for the county is ridiculous. We could turn it over to the PUD and let them take
The PUD
heat.
was successful in getting grant money for their project, despite them saying our project was better.
Okay.
So the PUD stood up in front of the county council and said, hey, we want to use this money for our grant match, and the state saw to it that they got their money, so.
They get for Point Roberts?
Yeah, they
we
received
need
just
to be
over $3
bold.
million.
Which is great. I mean, it's, yeah, it's good stuff.
We just need to be bold.
Yeah. Well, does that, you guys think you got some
Yep. I
direction?
have my marching orders.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
very much.
Commissioners.
Appreciate it. My last item, we've had several conversations primarily with Dr. Weber on leaded gas. He's come to us a number of times, and we've heard from other individuals as well on this. And I'm wanting to find a way to respond and do something productive. Rob shared with me a bill that Representative Larson put forward last year. And it's essentially to compel the FAA to work with the federal government and the industry partners to achieve their goal of 2030 for a fuel transition. They've been talking about this fuel transition for quite some time. And I spoke with Rob about our staff authoring a letter in support of that project that Larson is trying to move forward. What I like about what he's put forward is that he's directing the FAA to do so and not have it fall on individual states or individual airports to make a hodgepodge of ruling and confusion around fuel. I don't want lead in fuel either, but I don't think it's our role to be legislating that or creating bans on fuel that's going to put people at risk who are doing something that I think is fairly dangerous, getting yourself in a small plane and going high in the air. I don't do that myself, and if I did, I would want to feel as secure as possible. What I like about Larson's bill is that it compels the FAA to create a blanket standard and a blanket fuel that is working as first on safety, second with both industry and user partners, and then third, ensuring that that fuel is actually going to be available. That's the other thing. If a state or individual airport acts on this and bans a fuel or mandates another fuel, that fuel may not be available. And so I really think that we've got to have this uniform direction coming from that organization that approves and mandates those fuel choices. And so I would like us to put together a letter in support of what Representative Larson is trying to get done here, and really let the FAA know that we need some help getting there. We're getting pressure. The state's obviously getting pressure, and they should be achieving this 2030 goal with these industry partners. Questions or comments?
I'll just add on to that one of the things I liked about the bill, besides the fact it's countrywide instead of just one state, because the state of Washington played with passing some legislation this last session, and it would have been inconsistent with the rest of the country. And can you try and imagine buying fuels or creating fuels to meet every single state's rules? It doesn't make any sense. But one of the things Larson's bill does is it has a lot of little disclaimers in there if it is safe to do so. So if they find out it's not safe to do so, then they don't have to go forward. It's not like a mandate that they do despite safety.
Yeah. Safety really came first in his, the wording. So when I read through it, and maybe Rob can share it with both of the other commissioners so they have the text of it to see. I thought it was very common sense and straightforward in terms of what it was trying to achieve.
And we're not the only port dealing with this in the state. The state is dealing with this the ports are dealing with this on a statewide level. Did you say you don't like going up in the air and getting high, or you don't like going high in the air? I missed.
That could be a really great soundbite for someone, I'm sure.
You may want to go back and listen to the tape.
We'll just wait for the media call on that one.
I'm in support of that effort because I do think what Larson's trying to do is logical.
Ken, or Bobby, any questions or comments on that?
Oh, I think it's a good idea too. I mean, I totally understand where Dr. Webb is coming from, but on the other hand, you can't just do one airport. As you said, the fuel is probably going to be an issue, the availability of it, maybe not. You can't just go to the gas station and buy airplane fuel. So I support, I'd like to see it as well. I haven't seen it, but what you've said, Commissioner Shepard, and what Rob has said, I think that I can support it.
Okay.
I'll share the link to the text of the bill and a draft letter in the next couple of days.
Great. Thank you, Rob.
Very much.
All right, any other business?
I have none.
All right, hearing none. Safe travels, Commissioner Briscoe, and we'll see you next time. All right, we're adjourned.